Hello and welcome to Three Peas in a Podcast.
Hi, James here.
And Zoe.
So, some interesting things have been happening since the last time we recorded. Both Zoe, James, and I, so not both, all of us, have started working again. We're not slackers anymore, which is nice.
I'm a productive part of society.
We're no longer fun employed.
Fun employed, correct.
Yeah, the fun's gone.
Not saying that anyone who doesn't have a job is a slacker, just the fact that we didn't have jobs made us slackers.
I definitely felt like a slacker. My excuse was just, I have homework.
My excuse was, I'm unemployed. So there's that. There's a 7,500 acre fire burning just south of us.
Yeah, when Connor and I go outside, we get rained on with nothing of the wet and fun variety, but more of the dry and crispy and blackened variety.
Oh, yeah. It's like it's snowing outside, but it's all ash and charcoal.
I'm actually a bit happy I'm not in flag for that.
A bit happy?
Yeah, a little
We can't
bit.
breathe.
We can breathe. No one's wearing, respirators yet, but
Yet.
the thing is yesterday we had to go outside because I had to go buy work shoes, and of course it was the day that the sun disappeared because the smoke was just too intense.
Yeah, it would have been the perfect day to take out the Fire Nation.
It would no, that was the day the Fire Nation attacked. That is what's happening right now. And then the Fire Nation attacked Flagstaff and it all burned.
True. Except we can't say everything was going great and then the Fire Nation attacked. It was like everything sucked
No.
and then the Fire Nation attacked.
No, it was everything sucked and then things started to get better. Like things were going great because we all got employed, and then the Fire Nation's like, "Oh wait, is that a smile I see? No. Let me burn so much forest that you're not sure if you'll even get to go to your job because it might not exist within the week."
And James was like, yeah, it's kind of hot in Tucson.
Kinda hot, man. It's hit like over 100 already, so
I know. It's just like...
it's that bad, man.
It's like it's a 9-minute drive from the Inferno racing towards us.
Yeah. Was it people 12 miles south?
Yeah.
People 12 miles to the south of us are being pre-evacuated, and we have
Kachina's being evacuated.
um
So if that gives you an idea of how close it is.
we have yet to pack our duffel bag of necessities.
You don't have your go bag ready, losers.
Toilet
No.
paper and cocaine.
We've been working all day.
Necessities.
Just kidding though. It's still pretty scary, but
No, it's...
Yeah, it's one of those things where I'm pretty confident that we're not gonna die or have our apartment burned down, but I'm also not confident enough that the fire will be contained to the degree where we won't just have to leave just because of air pollution.
It's been 3 days and it's 5% contained as of 9 o'clock tonight.
good.
And when it started, it was only 20 acres.
Yeah, it
and
was a 20-acre fire, and within 2 days it's 7,500
a human
acres.
caused fire too. I mean, how terrible.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they didn't contain any of it until this evening. That's what's crazy, is none of it had been blocked off successfully.
And there's over 800 personnel working on it right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That's
this is
just
easily
nuts.
the closest I've been to this level of natural disaster.
Well, and what's interesting is, for us, I think we're pretty mild about how it affects us overall. Going outside, your lungs hurt a little bit, and you always have little pokey things blowing in your eyeballs. But when I was talking to my family today, I'm oh, well, how was your first day of job training? I was oh, it wasn't bad, until I left and I couldn't see. And oh, well, the news didn't make it seem that bad. It sounded kind of hopeful. It's I think it is hopeful. It's got to stop sometime. But
There's only so much earth to burn. One day will be great.
but I think the news for the greater parts of the valley is probably a little bit more vague about, because there's still 3,000 people that are ready essentially to move if the fire progresses, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
there's been 300 major structures damaged in the fire already.
That's just
And highways
insane.
closed down.
Yeah, there's
no,
17. I think the 17 still closed at some points.
Any road that was closed is still closed.
Woo!
Nothing's been able to open back up. They were able to put a small blockade like just south of Kachina, and one northwest, blocking off all of like the main like electrical cords and stuff like that. So we won't lose power and communication.
Woo!
Yeah, right.
Because that would suck even more.
I know. It's just it's a fucking nightmare. Like I'm confident that I'm not going to burn in my sleep, but
I don't think anything that we own or that's like within like a structure within the vicinity of us is going to like be burned. I do think it's plausible that we'll have to leave. Like if we leave, it's going to be because like the smoke's too bad.
I will only feel that confident once it rains. Like there's not enough happening. Like there's not enough contained after like 2 days. And like all of the incident reports are just the fire's going north, the wind's picking up, everything's fucking dry and on fire. Like
It's kind of how it goes in summers in Arizona, though.
well,
Yeah.
like 7,500 acre fires.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean
that's
we
a
get
normal thing.
pretty big fires. Like
Well, we get big fires, but it's always like brush fires. So it's always like the low-lying, crispy desert plants. And it's like, oh, so, you know, all that stuff we don't really care about. The brown stuff is getting black now. So,
Yeah.
But like
that's what happens.
every few years, there's always like a big fire somewhere in the mountainous areas. It's like
Yep. It's always
It's-
here in California that get it.
always a big mountain fire or something. A lot of acres burns. It's just part of the natural cycle of things. Normally,
Well, it's not natural if someone's starting the fire.
I mean that's what I said. Normally,
Well,
it's like
I
lightning
mean,
fires or
We
stuff.
know
and
that it
all
was human caused, but it still could have been an accident.
yeah, but it's still unnatural.
No, it's definitely still bad.
Like the trees don't accidentally leave a fire burning.
Shit, Tom. We didn't put Ted out. Shit.
Fuck.
We wanted to get warm. And
Did
we
you
were burning
guys ever
Ted.
put out the fire when we made s'mores last night? Oh man, shoot!
Oh god. The forest creatures needed to be warm. God damn it. But so today was my first real day of work, where it was a shift without any training. And it was one of those days where it was like, this is your learning curve day. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Like, I don't know how many people are familiar with PLU codes.
Well, I mean, I can say yes, but I'm learning it right now.
Yeah.
It's just like when you go to the grocery store and you see your snazzy checkout person like not glancing at this keyboard and randomly hitting in like 4-digit codes. You're like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. They're typing in your veggies or your fruits. That's-
Looking it up.
That's what that is. Yep, that's what that is.
Yeah. But so we have a cheat sheet book full of PLU codes, like just in case something doesn't have a PLU code on it. Or it's like something in bulk where it doesn't make sense for it to have a PLU code in it.
Well, they don't expect you to memorize all of them either.
Well,
they
they expect-
emphasize
like,
don't
you-
memorize them all.
You wanna memorize like the ones you see all the time.
yeah.
Like it's okay to look up something like that you just that's weird. Like I mean like
Yeah.
I've memorized like white corn, tomato or Roma tomatoes, bananas, organic bananas. But so green beans have been just the thorn in my side today. Cuz every time I type in the PLU code that's shown in the book, it rings up as like $43 worth of garbanzo beans.
Gotta get them beans, man.
And like I had this lady today who I was typing it in and I was ringing it up and it wasn't quite working, and so then we got it through and she was like, I'm not buying $43 worth of garbanzo beans. Them be green beans. And so I had to like back up. But since it's more than $10, I need like a manager's override code for it to work.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, so I had to wave down my manager and be like, inexplicably, $43 worth of garbanzo beans ended up on the table. Don't know why, don't know how, but I need your help fixing it. And that happened enough today, but far enough in part that, like, I knew something went wrong, but I didn't know, like, what went wrong. And then it was $43 of garbanzo beans. I was like, yeah, that's right. Green beans. Fucking green beans. They're back to get me.
So why is it that they haven't like marked the code differently on their like reference?
Well, when you look at those reference books, like, you can tell that they're old as hell. Because, like, most of them are basically just, like, loose leaf, like, shoved into a little book. They're falling apart, so they're old. So I'm just assuming, like, codes might have changed, and they just didn't update them. Like, I don't think they sell garbanzo beans in bulk. So I don't know why they have a PLU code for garbanzo beans.
Yeah, I don't think they do. Like, that's something like
No.
Sprouts does or something.
But it's like green beans are so common. Like, why is it that they don't have?
Well, they do. It's just like the code is one step lower, and it's not green beans. It's like another thing.
It's just labeled as like string beans.
Yeah, no, it's something else. I don't remember. I've only been doing this for 5 hours. But my favorite guy who came in today was he was a river guide instructor or like river tour leader, who'd come down from Montana. And I asked him, like, how long do these tours go on for? And he said, you come down for 14 days, you do 14 tours, and you go back to your, hometown. And he told me, I'm just buying provisions for, my nights after I do the tours. And so he bought a bunch of, like, chips and salsa, because he's like, the people taking the tours, they love the chips and salsa. And I was like, yeah, ha ha ha. Small talk with customers. And then he bought, like, $250 worth of liquor.
awesome.
Like, enough that he could have a bottle of liquor, like, every night after the tour.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Maybe he has more of a party boat tour.
I don't know, like, I don't know what kind of tour is, like, going down the canyon on the Colorado and it's like, all right, pass the Bacardi. Ho ho! No, it's like, Jaeger bombs, take that turn.
Getting absolutely wasted while rafting down the Colorado or something.
Like,
Oh my goodness.
river rafting isn't something you do inebriated and live.
Oh.
My dad's river rafting tour with his boss would have been a lot different if they were both shit-faced. Those orca whales would have murdered them.
No, let's not think about that. I like whales, and mind you, orcas are dangerous, but it's like, it doesn't matter how gentle the thing is, I do not want some massive skyscraper-sized mammal floating up next to me when I'm in, like, a dinky, like, inner tube. Just like, nope, please stay away.
So I know this is a weird anecdote going off of that, but can you imagine being like a shrub? Like an old shrub that's been there forever. And so, like, in the shrub's eyes, 100 years goes away in like a second, right?
And then the Flagstaff fire burns you.
No. So you're a shrub.
Yeah,
You're
I get it.
10,000 years old, and then the Grand Canyon just shows up next to you.
You're like, well, shit, where'd this come from?
You're a terrified shrub.
But see, if you're a shrub and you're existing for 10,000 years, the Grand Canyon isn't going to just appear next to you. You're going to watch it and be like, wow, you've really grown.
But the
From when
Grand
you were just
Canyon,
a little trickle and
it's
a
been
crack
there
in the
for
ground.
a lot longer than 10,000 years, I'm pretty sure, though.
No,
Well,
I don't mean like you're a 10,000-year-old shrub up until the point where the Grand Canyon's being carved out. Like, you're 10,000, then the Grand Canyon happens, and then it's 2014. Like, you're an old fucking shrub at this point.
But I'm just saying, like, it wouldn't be a surprise. If anything, it'd be like, wow, I never expected you to get so big and strong, sport.
You're a 2-million-year-old shrub. The Grand Canyon forms in the blink of an eye.
Okay, see, you're taking the route where a lot of people, like, do this for, like, fiction writing and stuff, where it's like, if something is eternal or immortal or just extremely, extremely long-lived, that normal, what we call like normal time, what would be like our daily stuff, is gonna like pass by instantaneously. You're not even gonna notice. And it's one of those things where like I don't always buy into that. I don't.
Well, okay.
You might have a harder time, like things in the past might be like, oh, you know what, that last 50,000 years went by real fast, just like we was like, oh wow, that year went by really fast. That I could understand.
Well, that's how it works. But I mean, once you get to the point where you're like 2 billion years old, like a day is such a small increment of the time that you've lived. That's why your life feels shorter the older you get. Because like,
I don't know. It's
when you're 50, a year is a 50th of your life.
Yeah.
So that.
But it doesn't matter because.
Well, no, it does because it's because time is relative, and so it's like I feel like instead of when you live for like 2 billion years, instead of it being like time starts passing in the blink of an eye, I feel like you start to get to that point where like you see time as non-linear, and you slip into everything happening at the same time, and then you just kind of become like a trans-dimensional, trans-time being.
And this is on 3Ps, folks, where we get into the deep shit.
But I still think of it as, like, sometimes you have days where you live them and you feel like, wow, you know, I did something fun and time went by too fast. But I still feel like, even though, obviously, like, you know, we're on the young half, so, like, you saying your whole thing of, you know, when you're 50, aging a year is, you know, a 50th of your life kind of deal. Well, it's like, I still feel every day being as long as the previous.
Yeah.
And I don't.
Well, but
I don't see that changing.
Do you remember being like a 7-year-old?
Yes.
And like I don't know, James, can you chime in here? Like, do you remember being a 7-year-old?
Yeah,
and just
I do.
like how long a day took?
Day felt pretty short to me because I just sat around eating PB&Bs, watching Thomas the Tank.
Yeah, I honestly remember like 7-year-old days not feeling as incredibly long. Like sometimes nowadays feel longer because I'm doing things I don't like. But I can
Yeah.
like distinctly remember like going to, well, I guess no, that would technically be 5 or 6 when I was like, go to kindergarten half day, come home, have my kid cuisine. It's Flintstones like little drummies and like a corn and a little brownie, and then
Well-
I watch some television and then I go play, and that's all I did.
Maybe we'll need to reconvene this conversation when we're all like 50 and more cognizant of like our 20s.
I'm not ever very sure about much of anything, but I do know because I've had this thought for so long, because I was a weird child, because when I was like 7, for a long time I was like, am I dead? And I know that's like kind of weird, but I'd like lay in bed at night and I was like, oh, you know, I learned the phrase from all my reading, like you see your life flash before your eyes. I'm like, what if I'm just the living flashback and this is just me recalling every moment of my life from like start to finish, and because it's such an intense flashback, like I am remembering everything in like real time kind of feeling, not like sped up. Like you're not watching like VHS tape with like the fast forward button held down. You're just like, oh, we'll watch it, and it feels shorter because it's.
I was a very dull and dumb child compared to the two of you. I sat around just eating food and watching cartoons and not caring about really anything.
Okay, when I was little, I pretty much ate the same thing I did now, except for now I eat more macaroni, which you wouldn't expect to happen, but I cling to my staples.
Hey,
But it's just one of
mac and cheese
those
is
things
good.
like I've known it for so long. It's like, and that's probably why I can like sometimes accept this idea where like long-lived or eternal beings have this thing where like the longer you live, the smaller other things in history seem.
Well,
And I
guess
I don't like it because I know I'm not like that, and every day will always feel just
Well-
as long as the next. And yeah, sometimes when you're like in the moment of it, a day might feel shorter or longer depending on the activities. But looking back, you're like, yeah, no, that felt like a day. Every minute felt like a real minute.
I don't know. I guess it really comes down to the fact that time is completely based on perception. And because we filed ourselves into a linear way of thinking where we perceive time as a linear happening with sun up to sun down, everything blocked off into hours, minutes, and seconds. Like, if you... I don't know. We are so young. So, like...
I know, but what you're describing is kind of perceiving time in unequal parts based off like your current perception, and I like Well, I'm not.
Well,
Well,
what
I'm
I
not
mean- what I
saying
mean
that
is it's
time.
not
no,
unequal.
no. Hang on. Well, no, it's like perceiving it as unequal parts. Where like past things, the longer you've been around, seems smaller compared to present things. And I'm just saying, like,
No,
I will like even though like chunking things up is not necessarily appropriate for time. I'll still like have my imagined segments, and they'll all still be the same. Like they'll all be
I'm
uniform.
saying, not that time is actually getting shorter.
I'm not
just
saying
that,
that
like-
it's getting shorter. I'm saying
No,
what you
I know you're not saying
perceive.
that. What I'm saying is that when you're 50, a year suddenly becomes a much smaller portion of your life. So, in relatively speaking, a year compared to the other 49 years of your life is such a small fraction of it that it seems to you that you move through it faster. Just talking to like older folk than I am, like I get the general consensus that time is moving a lot faster for them perception-wise. Like, I'm not saying that you're going to feel that way or that you do feel that way. I'm just saying I don't know if we can have this conversation at like young 20s.
No, I think I can because I don't know. It's one of those perceptions. It bothers me because I don't really agree with it. Like it just does not make sense in my mind where it's like, so because now you've accumulated more time, suddenly time seems like it's faster. Like that just doesn't.
It's a sense of fractions.
I know Connor, I understand fractions. I'd had to
I
teach
know.
them in summer school all the time. That's what nails kids when they have to stay behind.
I'm just like-
fractions and vocab. Like it's phonemic awareness and fractions. That's what gets everybody into summer school. But it's just one of those things where like a fraction of your life doesn't mean like a fraction of your life doesn't mean anything because like it just doesn't.
Well, but that would only mean something if if time was actually like linear. If it was actually sectioned off into equal sized chunks instead of based on perception. I mean, this isn't even real science because we can't like study time because it's not physical. So this is a weird conversation to have, and we've gone from a gaming podcast to a TED Talk.
And
It's-
welcome to the deep shit, folks.
I no, it's one of those things where I just it always bothers me when I can accept it sometimes when it's beautifully written and it has other nice things surrounding it, but just the philosophy of like so you have to put more slices into your pie so suddenly it's going away faster. It's like you can still sit there and eat the whole thing just because you have smaller slices doesn't mean a darn thing. I don't know. It's one of those things. I think it's almost contradictory in a way because like saying that fractions like the more you age you accumulate more pieces to your lifetime of fractions, but then you're inherently implying that each one of those pieces is going to be equal to the next, but you're also saying at the same time that every future piece that you accumulate is somehow smaller.
Well, yeah,
But I'm
because
just,
that's how fractions work.
I know, but I'm saying, but you're still saying that, like, so, you know, you get to 62, so now you have a 62 piece of, like, pieces of pie.
Yeah,
you're
equaling
like,
one.
Yeah, and you eat
One
one.
lifetime.
Yeah, and it goes away faster, but all the other 62 pieces, or the 61 pieces that are left over, are all the same size. So it doesn't actually go with the idea.
Well, yeah, it does. Because the thing is that you're comparing actual lengths of time to pie. And so, like, that doesn't really work because living through a year isn't equatable to eating a piece of pie. Because when you start off at 2 years, you have 2 halves of a pie. That's a lot of fucking pie.
I just think of the slices of pie as being memories, and you still have all that content in the same space of time, so it doesn't matter how many slices you, like, cut your pie of life into. Like, you still have the same content.
It takes you longer to eat a half a pie than a 61st of a pie.
Well, you're not doing it right.
No,
If you're
I
not
could
trying
put-
hard enough.
I could put a 61st? How the fuck do you say that faction?
61st.
Faction.
60 faction. That faction. I can just put a 61st of pie into my mouth and eat it. I
can
can't do that physically with a half a pie.
You're not-
so your
obviously not-
analogy still works.
You're not
for
trying
my
hard enough
theory.
then, because I can put half a whole pie in my mouth. I've done it.
That's
Yeah, it could be a personal pie. It could be a pot pie. You don't know what kind of pie this is.
seek help.
No, I like half an apple pie, like a classic pie tin size apple pie. Like
God, did you unhinge your jaw? Did you go like snake on it?
no, I just folded it a lot.
That doesn't count.
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
How do you fold pie? You're gonna squish all the filling out.
That's what you just do. It's all gonna be in the
Just
same
drinks it.
spot.
And I'm not saying
Almost,
I have
honestly,
to just,
almost.
I have to just go back. It's like by no means is my analogy perfect. Like it's far from it. It's full of holes.
Because
It's
your
a
analogy
piece of Swiss
supports
cheese.
my theory.
It's one of those things where like I can understand my idea of it and I'm not able to properly convey it. Like if I could do like some mind meld and just like squish my brain
Well-
juice into yours,
And I argue like an asshole.
we both do. But it's one of those things where like you're still wrong. Like there's something no, there's something that's still wrong
not right,
about
but
no,
also-
there's
No,
something that's
'cause Zoe-
still wrong about what you're saying and I can't put my finger on it, but there is something that is definitely inherently wrong.
No, the only thing that's wrong with it is that you don't believe in it.
It's not.
Well, yeah, because you don't have anything to go off of. Like you're just saying it's wrong.
No, I'm saying like how you are wording it, there's something that's not right. Like I can handle it. Like I appreciate the theory and I can like I don't hate people that think this way. It's one of those things where I don't understand it because I don't see things that way. But we can move on because
So Zelda's doing a Dynasty Warrior reboot. So that's cool.
Segways are cool.
It's called Warriors of Hyrule. And I don't know who here, whether with the people I'm talking to or our listeners, have played Dynasty Warriors.
If
I'm
you're
gonna
looking
take
at
that
me,
as-
remember what I said earlier
haven't
today?
played it.
I
haven't played it at all.
Okay, so I will repeat what I said earlier, which was I've always been raised relatively poor.
You
I
have a
don't want-
PS2.
That had like 2 games.
Yeah, but I'm
Yeah, and I wasn't allowed to pick any games for it, so that was another thing.
lame.
Yeah, so it was one of those things where like I grew up not having a whole bunch. I had stuff, but I didn't have like a lot of new things. If I got stuff, it was like lots and lots and lots of odds and ends from the dollar store, which is one of my favorite places on earth. But me looking at games, I felt like I'd get glares from people where it's like, you dirty mongrel, step away from the case. We know what you poor people are like. You're going to leave grubby little fingerprints of greed all over our product.
No, you can't rent it. It's for sale.
Yeah, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, actually, there's a good story I have about my family that kind of relates to that idea. And then we can go back to your Zelda. It's like, I distinctly remember,
My Zelda.
yeah, your Zelda thing. My cousin was like super amped when she was like a younger teenager to go with her parents to Hollywood because she goes, well, I don't say she grew up out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. She's a little bit further from that, but it was out in the middle of nowhere in Oregon. And the one time her family came to visit mine in the summer, she like freaked out because they're like, pizza can come to your house? There's an ice cream man that drives the streets? Like, this is amazing. Because they just didn't have that. But when her family had their vacation to Hollywood, she thought it was the coolest thing ever. And my Uncle Mike is super, super sweet and just the total farm boy. And they went to some fancy store because my aunt and my cousin wanted to look at the clothes. Not necessarily expect to buy anything because I'm pretty sure it was definitely out of their price range. But just to, you know, put themselves in that Hollywood experience. And some lady came up to my uncle and was following him around, spraying Febreze behind him and on everything he touched.
Are you serious?
I was like, I wasn't there, but I heard this story and I was dying. It's like, she thought you were a smelly cow dude. He's like, I don't
Oh
even
my goodness.
deal with cows because it's like they're farm people, but it's berry.
They're farm people.
But they have a berry farm, not a dairy farm. They are. They're like it's.
They're not farmers. They're farm people.
They're farm people. Like they just have that feel. Like they don't even do farming anymore. It's like, yeah, I can tell it's in you. Like it's just there.
Like they wear straw hats and overalls, or
No, but there's just something about it you can't quite escape that just screams country hicks in a good way, because I do like
Oh.
them. I really do like them. They're fun.
I really like Inner City Hicks.
You're not gonna finish your Zelda?
Oh, I am. So basically, this is a Zelda game in the style of Dynasty Warriors, which is kind of like a large scale beat 'em up. I don't know how to classify this. Like, it's kind of like tower. It's like 3D tower defense, kind of, where like you're either playing defense or offense, and you defeat a bunch of warriors, you fight the generals, you conquer the castle, you win the level.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. Me and my dad used to chill out in my shed that I lived in and play Dynasty Warriors together on the PS2. It's a very fond memory I have.
Good bonding moment.
Yeah.
Shed life.
I hope he remembers it. Shed life?
Oh gosh, I regret that.
But so it sounds like the game will be introducing a few new characters as well as like some old classic characters. And I think this is speculation, but I think that they're going to base a lot of the levels off of like classic Zelda temples. And like there'll definitely be like a Hyrule level and a bunch of stuff.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, no, definitely. I am upset to say that I haven't played the Minecraft file again. I've been super lame and
You've
working.
been super worky. Whatever
Yeah.
that means, worky. You've been super worky.
But so if I don't work tomorrow, I'm definitely gonna play it. That's a pinky promise. Pinky promise. But so yeah, this is really exciting. The graphics are really pretty. We'll link it in the description on our YouTube channel. It like the character design is really cool. I already really like the fighting dynamics of the game, of Dynasty Warriors, and it looks like they're sticking to kind of like a Zelda HUD. They've got like an item display. They've got your magic powers. They've got your heart, and they've got a stamina bar. Introduced in Skyward Sword. That was when it was introduced, right? Do I need to fact check that?
I think so. I don't know for sure, so don't quote me on that.
Okay.
Alrighty. So if any of you are familiar with the Metro series, the post-apocalyptic living in the Russian underground fighting mutants and stuff.
Unfortunately,
Bus driver simulator.
yeah, I was gonna say the only Metro I'm familiar with is
The bus line.
waiting at the bus, not having the bus show up on time.
Well, Deep
Metro.
Silver, the company that makes the game, Deep Silver, has announced Metro Redux, which is a re-release of both games, Metro 2033, Metro Last Light, with Metro 2033 being updated with the Last Light engine, so new mechanics and all that, and make it look pretty. But the strange thing is, it already looks gorgeous on PC, but they're re-releasing all of it on PC.
So it's
And-
just gonna be so shiny and new you'll be blinded.
And I mean, I'm thinking they're gonna. The article talks about that they might do it on the new consoles, which because they don't have backwards compatibility, and these games didn't come out for them because they weren't out. Well, they were out before the consoles
the
were
hard-
out.
The hardest part of the game is getting the person who wants to pay when he gets off to pay when he gets on. It's a $2.50 fare.
The game's actually quite fun. I have both, and they're pretty intense. And it's a FPS style game that's really realistic, in the sense of like combat and all that. Like you have to watch out for oxygen and make sure your mask doesn't crack. And
That's pretty
You
I
cool.
have-
thought you said you have to watch out for oxen,
Oh
and
my
I was
no.
like, "Oh my gosh, why are you playing this like weird
The
game
main-
where they just have like oxen stampedes?"
It's the main mob in the game.
just hordes of oxen.
Just oxen traveling everywhere.
Oh my
The
gosh!
only creatures immune.
No, it was just one of those things where like I definitely I had to like stop for a second and be like, wait, process what he said, and was like oxygen, understood, but I was like just so stunned. I was like, there's oxen? I was like, I kind of want this now. Just
They're the mammal quadruped version of cockroaches.
Gross.
The unkillable oxen.
That's a gross image. I'm imagining like giant cow-sized cockroaches.
10-horned oxen.
Stop it.
Like
so
think
steroid
Xerneas.
deer.
Think Xerneas from Pokemon X, but terrifying instead of majestic
So,
and
like-
gorgeous.
Mixed with the warthog.
Sure. Or an ox. That works.
I don't know why a warthog is like super beefy in my mind.
Ox, moose, Xerneas. Well, warthogs are beefy, but they're also like just stout little guys. I'm thinking just big, long-legged, terrifying, like,
Death beast.
Oxen.
Got it.
yeah. They're running after you, and you're like, I can't tell if they're running on 2 legs or 1. Or, I mean, 4. They're pogo sticking after me.
This went from a really ferocious beast to
Death
something,
oxen on pogo sticks.
something that looks like a terrifying spitting top.
Oh, good goodness. Oh,
I was also right. Stamina bar was introduced in Skyward Sword, so
Oh,
I
cool.
do sound knowledgeable when I don't second guess myself.
Your
Yeah.
non-bus related game does sound pretty
Woohoo.
cool though, James.
It'd be a lot better if you were a bus driver.
it's
Do they
really
have
fun.
Do they have any screenshots of it up, or is it still too new?
They have a trailer on the article page.
Awesome. So we can link all our lovely listeners to
Exactly.
a
Buses don't
shiny,
have
pretty
trailers.
video.
Buses never have trailers.
Oh man, that's really cool.
Can't hitch up a U-Haul to a bus. So I wonder how long it's going to take people to notice that all of my articles are linked to Kotaku. I should probably switch that up a bit. Should live a more interesting
Well,
life.
here's the thing: is my articles all have a root someplace, but I usually try and find extra supporting things. So while this little blurb may be edited out later, not saying it needs to be, Connor.
Edit.
There are options. Like you can always have something as your main source, and then if you have supporting evidence, it makes you look like a credible individual.
So I'm not going to talk about this, but Watch Dogs. That's all.
Cool.
Just
Looks
Watch
fun.
Dogs is happening.
Can't wait for it.
It looks nuts. Like it'd be really. I like. You say you can't wait for it, but like, do you have anything to play Watch Dogs on?
I have my PC.
How updated is your PC?
I can handle most things.
Like,
But not me.
It's all right. I mean,
I don't know why I felt the need to say that.
it's my baby. It works.
babies don't work.
This one does.
It's a rare baby.
You get out there and make me some money.
Pops out of the womb, and you're like, go get a job at the steel mill.
Oh God. Can you imagine how terrifying Ironworker baby would be?
Welcome back to the 20s.
I don't know. Pretend there's a decent transition. Chimes, birds, angelic music, whatever floats your boat.
I had a really awkward moment today at Safeway. There was a guy who came in, and the money that was due was $17.79. So I said, that'll be $17.79. And at the same time, we both said, that was a good year. And then we just kind of looked at each other.
Weird.
I used to say, like, whenever, because like 1996 is a very common charge. So I'd say, 1996, that was a great year for white people.
Oh my God.
That's really bad. You should avoid that at all costs.
Well, yeah, I don't do that at Safeway. My last job was a little more lenient with my speech patterns. Now I'm like, thank you, ma'am. Have a great day. Do you need help out to your car? Okay. See you later then.
Okay. I don't have a good follow-up for that other than, like, I have awkward encounters with people all the time. I know in past podcasts I mentioned the door whooshing. There was definitely a time last year where I was in my dorm with one of my roommates, and our other roommate was out working, and she's like, hey, just peek out the door real quick and see how bad the weather is, because it was the middle of winter and Flagstaff was in the middle of trying to outdo Snowpocalypse. It didn't succeed, but it was trying. And for whatever reason, I was on the floor, so I just remained on the floor and reached for the doorknob. So I'm kneeling. I don't even know what prompted me to do this. I cracked the door open with my head beneath the doorknob, but my other arm above, so it looked like I was like half upside down. It was this weird contorted view, and I opened up a crack, and then there was this girl standing like directly in front of it taking pictures, and I was so startled that we both kind of stared at each other and kind of jumped, and I just screamed, "Oh God!" and shut the door. And that was my awkward encounter. Like, I don't have Jello with strangers. That never.
I had an awkward encounter that was awkward more just because, like, I knew who she was, but she didn't know who I was. When I was living in Louisville, we had a downstairs neighbor who was super rude. Like, we could just be walking on the floor, like, not even loudly, because we knew that she sucked. And she would just bang the ceiling with her broomstick. And so, like, after about 2 months of this, I was coming home from work, and my cousin went upstairs, and I was holding the door open for this lady, and I was like, "Oh, hey, there you go." And she's like, "Oh, thank you, young man. That was so kind." And she walks to her apartment, and I know it's her, and I'm just, like, standing, holding the door open, like, glaring at her back, just kind of like, "Bitch, I know who you are." She was none the wiser, which worked out perfectly for me. She was an awful neighbor. Kind of like our neighbors behind us.
Yeah, no, I don't really care for them either. But we should transition so I can get to my story.
Tell us.
You clearly don't care about. So, for anybody interested in the artsy indie gaming world, there is going to be a very, very pretty looking game called Gravity Ghost, but it has a very special cast of voice actors who I am super jazzed about. One in particular. The storyline for this Gravity Ghost game it's described as, and I'll quote it, an adorable planet-circling physics game.
Nice. I like that.
And the art style is very cute. It looks like something that you would see painted on a canvas, not something you would typically see in the video game world. And I always appreciate that. I like seeing stuff that's, a little bit different than what you see every day. But their lineup for their cast is fantastic. So the protagonist of the game will be named Iona, and her voice actress is Ashley Birch, who has a lot of different places people might recognize the name from. So she's popular from her YouTube channel with her brother, Hey Ash, What You Playin'? She's also known for her voice acting in Borderlands 2. She was the voice of Tiny Tina. She's also the voice of Sasha from SNK in the English dub.
Really?
Yes. So Potato Girl, as some people might know her, that is Ashley Birch if you watch the English dub.
Very cool.
We
That's
also
really
know
cool.
that she's going to have a role in the Bee and Puppy Cat web series, for those of you who are interested in that. And she, apparently, this is something I didn't know, she played herself in some DLC for Saints Row 4. Which I think is pretty cool.
I agree.
But some of their, they have voice acting, like, little clips. They have about 3 samples per character, or at least main characters as far as I'm aware. So one of the other people that's a voice actor for this really pretty looking game is Logan Cunningham. He's noted for a bunch of indie games, including Bastion.
That game
Not
is
quite sure.
amazing, by the way. If you haven't played it, I recommend playing it.
I agree.
Yeah. So he's he's the narrator from that game. Or at least that's one of the things he's most known for. They have several other people that are just like super talented, and they've done a bunch of other like various successful indie game voice acting roles. They have a guy who apparently played Doc in like the stage production of Disney's Snow White. Like he was a dwarf for most of his life, like playing one of the dwarves on stage, and now he just suddenly has a role in this game.
Nice.
I don't know. They have some really, really interesting people. And mind you, like, I'm not going to list everybody because it's a bit long, and I always feel guilty not being able to get people's names right.
Well, what are some of
like-
the big names that you recognize?
No, like, I'm telling you, there's only, like, Ashley Birch is like the top of the list. And I did recognize Logan Cunningham's name just because of like his popularity among some of the indie games. And I like recognize some of the titles, but people should definitely check out the other listings. And like, since there's a few samples of each actor doing different emotions with their characters, you can get a sample and kind of feel like what the game will be like. But you can read little bios about the actors mixed in with what they've done and what character they're supposed to play if you follow through to their actual blog for the Gravity Ghost game. And it looks really pretty from like the little tidbits I've seen. It's definitely art oriented, and I think it will be a lot of fun.
Nice.
And apparently, for those of you who are interested in just already dying to get it, there's pre-order available as we speak, and you get 30% off. So I think it's about $10, and it's available for all computers.
Well, that's
Cool.
awesome. I'll definitely
Yeah.
check
So-
that out.
I have a little more information on the Hyrule Warriors game. Multiplayer is supported up to 2 players, just like regular Dynasty Warrior games. You can use things like swords and bombs and the fire rod. You get to use the spin attack. Link uses his Master Sword and Hylian Shield. You'll be fighting all sorts of Link or Zelda characters that you're super used to. And then some of the characters, we've got Impa, Shia, Wizro, Volga, and that's all I can find right now. But I'm pretty sure that
Are you not speaking? I thought that was you trying to. I thought you had something else to say.
no, I read the characters and I was like, shit.
Oh, well,
Okay.
I thought you had more to say other than listing the characters. That was my
No.
misunderstanding.
Okay, sorry. There are only 2 playable characters that have been confirmed so far. Just Link and Impa, who's the commanding officer of the Hyrule Imperial Guard.
Oh, sounds like fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I really enjoyed Dynasty Warriors. It's a fun, addicting, battle-oriented game where you just get to mow through thousands of things. It's a great, just like, de-stressor. Come home from a long day at work. Everyone's been hassling you. Sit down, take out 500 people with your long spear. Conquer the castle. Lay down for a nap. Wake up. Have some orange juice. Kill some more people. Hang out.
That's kind of fun.
It's a good day.
Well, I hate to do this, but I'm out of time. It's pretty late here, and I don't want to keep anyone up.
Okay.
No, that's cool. We can do a sign off.
All right. Well, we love you, our sprouts, and we will talk to you as soon as we can.
Have a great time, and if you're in the Flagstaff area, don't breathe in too much smoke, and make sure you have your go bag ready.
Everyone stays safe.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast and looking forward to next time.
It'll be fun. More Minecraft news coming up.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.